Man, I've been sitting like this shit.
Love you, brother. Good show.
Let's do it.
I always do that, man. Leave the music playing.
I know. They're going to be like, did they leave that music on?
They left the music on. Let's shut them down.
Was that Tony Braxton?
Let's shut them down.
Get them out of there. Right now.
Shut them down.
Sick of this shit.
All right, Facebook. You know we're live right now. We're going to do the sound check like we always do. Drop a little intro music. And then we'll get into the show's topic. We're starting late today. We'll get into that in just a little bit.
Yeah, we're going to tell you what happened. Oh, it ain't my fault.
Did I do that?
Should I cut this shit? Oh, I should share, actually.
Yeah.
Shut up, nigga. Had a, like I was telling you, man, I had that black dude say that the Ankh was an ank. I almost smacked him. Like I was telling you, man, I had that black dude say that the Ankh was an ank. I almost smacked him.
So we're good with the. All right, we're going to drop the intro song.
I was gonna do.
This is Scott.
This is Colin. And we are
Two Rational Bastards. I just want to cross everything. Oh. Trump's not even a thing anymore, and you still just want to. You gotta get a punching bag in here, and every time this comes on, just start punching. Never. I'm never gonna get it.
All right, Facebook. Colin, I'm going to drop the podcast audio, do the intro here in just a second.
All right.
You get shared?
Shut up, dude. Sharing it.
I just want you to be dialed in.
There it goes. Boom. 2 shares.
Nice. All right, so
me and you.
Me, just like, we're the only ones that share. We're our only viewers.
We see us.
All right, so I'm going to do the audio portion for the podcast. 3, 2, 1. Welcome to another episode of Two Rational Bastards, broadcasting live from Rose Garden Studios, just north of Nashville, Tennessee. If you haven't, if you're on Facebook right now and you're watching this live, if you would please comment, share, let people know about us so we can get the word out a bit more. And we have a lot of people that follow and listen to us, and we want more people in the fold. Also, if you're on the podcast version, if you're hearing this on Friday, if you would just send us an email, tell us what you think about it.
Yeah.
Tell people about us. Any case, I'm your host, Scott.
It's Colin.
Colin, what's up, man? We hey, we almost didn't do the show today, right?
Your dog shit on yourself, didn't it? First Chloe, then Rex.
Dude, so Rex.
Vent.
So yesterday morning we woke up, and so Chloe tends to be the one that has the stomach of iron. I mean, she doesn't ever have issues with her stomach, but she woke up and it was like chocolate milk.
Ugh.
It was nasty. So she was
I don't want to drink any more of my beverages.
Yeah. So the good thing is she did everything she could to avoid from sitting it. But I mean, she's in her kennel and it got on her.
Right.
So I had to bathe her. And her stomach seemed to be settled down. But this morning I got up and Rex had
stinking ass Rex.
Yeah. Well, he has a known issue with his stomach. So I have to, as you know, there's no dog food on this planet we've been able to feed him that doesn't give him the runs. I'm serious. I mean, we've gone to the vet and gotten prescription strength type dog food that's for irritable bowel.
Right.
He poops milk.
And his ass will go outside and try to eat
everything,
all kind of stuff on the ground.
Well, he's like, I'm hungry because I poop, So
I'm pooping everything out, so I stay hungry, but I know I'm gonna throw it up with this shit else. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, I
know my dad's gonna be mad at me.
So anyway, so I have to make his food from scratch.
Oh, really?
And every 2 days because I can't
make
it.
What is it?
So I do. It's sweet potato, carrots, spinach, rice, oats, olive oil, and canned ground chicken and parsley, and I mix it all together. So, but I can't make it in a large enough bulk to where I don't have to make it every 2 days because we only have such a size, certain size fridge.
Right.
So I text my wife.
I put his ass on intermittent fasting. I mean, are you fasting 24 today, dog?
Yeah, so I text my wife today. I said, we're going to have to buy just an inexpensive basic fridge to put in the garage so I can make his stuff in large bulk.
Right. So
I can make it once every couple of weeks. But as it stands right now, because again, limited space, it's every 2 days. And man, it may not. Oh, and there's yogurt in it too for the enzymes.
Right.
So
and the probiotics.
And the probiotics. What I meant to say. Thanks for the correction. So anyway, I need to make it in larger bulk because it's so time consuming. I mean, it takes a good hour to boil all the stuff, to steam everything.
Right.
Mix up.
Let me chime in here. All right, because he won't say it because he's so humble. He's the number one consultant in his real estate company. And he is rocking and rolling. And I'm going to tell you one of the reasons why. He is the most anal motherfucker I've ever met in my life. It's just like, now I got all these papers right here, and if I mix them in with this. And he is busy every single day. Like a couple of times during our you've got this blocked off. Like today is blocked off, but he's so busy that he has to go over and take a look at some stuff, and he's make sure everybody gets taken care of. I say that to say this: with the dogs and everything that he has to do for his company, everything that he does for our show, this is the busiest man I know. And I get a text on the way here. I'm actually going to be on time for once.
Yeah,
So I was going to be on time. I'm just like, I was proud of myself. Celebrate. So I'm coming down the interstate. I'm just like, let me just check my phone and see what's going on.
See what's up.
And I look at it. The first thing I say, man, I'm just going to tell you the dog and my son ain't doing what he's supposed to do. We are not going to do the podcast. I was just like, well, I'm already almost there.
I'm showing up.
I didn't say I was going to show up. I just like, I'm already halfway there.
Yeah.
Here's his response. Sorry. I was just like, wow. So I show up, and he's like my parking spot, right? He's got the cage out there. It's all been sprayed out. And it's got the kennel part of it. It's all apart. I'm just gonna park in front of your truck. I give no fuck. So I park in front of his truck. I go in. He looked up at me. The dogs are barking. The kids was trying to adjust stuff. And I walk up. He's up on the couch like, I don't give no fuck. Y'all do what you want to. I'm done. And we sit there. We discussed it. He vented a little bit. I told him about some synchronicities. He goes, you know what, man? Let's do the show. So here we are.
Yeah. So we're here. I did, man. It was so hard because I was not in a good energy space, man.
And look at his ass. He's trying to look like a hippie. He got his headband on, like trying to get to that woosah.
What kind of mixed message am I saying? Look, I got hippie look, long like crazy.
You got an African.
Confused.
No, man.
I'm complex. It's like
no, man. You are balanced. You're balanced. I like it.
So, Mary, thank you for joining. There's probably other people. We get these delayed, joins where we see people join after they popped in and out. So
yeah, we'll check tomorrow and it'll be like 15 people. Well, if he ain't gonna say nothing to me, I'm not gonna show up no more. He said hi to Wade, but he don't never say hi.
I know he always says hi to Wade. So we're gonna actually, if you guys remember a few episodes back, we had this software that we used where it gave a split screen. We could drop comment kind of things in to encourage questions.
Right.
We're gonna probably do that the next episode. We're gonna integrate that back in. We're going to do facing cameras, one on him, one on me, just to kind of change it up.
And we're going to try. We're trying to evolve.
Yeah.
It's what you have to do.
That's right.
If you look at every successful company, every successful thing that you've ever seen, it evolves.
Yeah.
Like everybody hated the logo to Instagram.
Yeah. And
then they switched it, and it's been switched now for 2 years. You can't even remember the old logo. Yeah. Like everybody was complaining, oh my God.
They hated the new switch. Yeah,
they hated the new switch, and now they're just like, oh, what's on Instagram? I love the logo. I was like, you are biased to whatever's there, and then you're going to be all upset with whatever the change is because we hate change because we consider change a threat.
Yeah,
no matter what. And then you grow accustomed, and then you fall in love, and then they change it again, and that's how they keep you interested. So we're going to continue to evolve.
That's exactly right. So I started, and then we'll get into the quote, but I started watching a Netflix series called The Ozark, or it's Ozark, I guess.
Yes.
Dude, Jason Bateman, and I didn't know you were watching it.
That's what I was telling you. I think Bateman is so amazing.
He is so good, and however you say, Esai Morales, he was in La Bamba. He played the older brother. He's a great actor.
He is amazing.
He plays this, I guess, Colombian drug lord is what I assume. I don't know where Mexico.
Well, actually, he's the associate of he's the face of it.
He's the face of it. And man,
but brutal.
Tell you, it's nothing like you've seen Jason Bateman. What's funny is he plays a similar kind of character that you would see in other movies as far as being smart, a little bit unsure of himself in a way. And
it's a dark humor, which is unlike him. Like he's always sarcastic. He's like sarcastic as hell. I love his humor.
I do too.
His comedic acting style is amazing. Like he's the only thing I liked in what's the Will Smith movie where he's a superhero?
Oh God, why did you? I don't know. I can't remember what it's called.
Whatever that movie was, he was Will Smith was supposed to be the funny comedic.
Yeah.
It was Bateman, man. I was like, wow, that was good.
He's really good. And the first episode, if you haven't watched it, by the way, Casey Wilson, thanks for joining. If you haven't seen it, watch the first episode. And if you don't go past the first episode, we need to talk.
I'm trying to tell you, it will hook, line, and sinker. It's a train wreck that you cannot look away from.
There's so many shocking things that happened in the first episode. I was like, what just happened?
What just happened? What's happening? Why am I feeling this way?
It's kind of breaking the mold of what you expect. Like it's funny when you watch movies, you can almost kind of predict what's going to occur because of how you program the things that you watch in the past. This doesn't do that. You have no.
The last time I felt this way I tell you what, I think it's this new brand of doing shows. Breaking Bad,
Walking
Dead. Oh God, Walking Dead. I was going to forget about Walking Dead in my illustration, but Game of Thrones and Breaking. I mean, I'm just telling you, it's this new style of putting just shocking things together without being smutty.
Yeah.
it's smart, but Ozark, and I want to say the Ozarks.
I do. It's like weird to say Ozark.
When you say Kroger,
yeah,
like a lot of
the
people
Kroger.
Krogers.
Yeah.
Krogers are just like, it's singular. It's not plural.
Walmarts. But the thing about Ozark is it's like what really happens in the real world. They don't try to, I mean, obviously it's a show and it's, they're going to soften things up, but man,
everything that they're dealing with, if you want to talk about personal development and problems and solving problems, it's on another level. Like when something happens, he's already problem solving. He doesn't complain. He doesn't whine. He doesn't cry. How do I resolve this?
What about,
and it's just, I mean, you're just like, oh my God.
The opening scene, we won't give it away so you can watch it.
I will.
The opening scene when he's in the office giving financial advice to that couple, and he gets that email that even says, do not open now, and he opens it.
Yeah.
He's sitting there like, what the hell is he doing?
And he's just like, yeah, whatever. Yeah. Like trying to tell these people what they're going to be doing.
And then every time he sees his wife, he's pretty much.
Whoa. Calm down. You're about to tell.
Anyway, it's a great show. You got to watch it. There's only one season, so it's easy to.
You're going to finish
easy
it.
To catch up. Yeah, you'll catch up.
You will binge.
Wade, my man.
Wade.
Is in that.
Welcome back.
Where were you last week, Wade?
Where the hell were you?
Come on, you need a comment.
I was vaping. That's what the hell I'm doing. I'm the vape master.
I'm running a vape store. What the hell do you expect?
Yeah.
So speaking of Netflix, this came across my mind. I don't know. You stream everything. I still occasionally get a disc order because some things aren't stream available.
Right.
It's only disc available.
Right.
But with that, Netflix has to stop with all the damn emails. Okay. So I just kind of made a little list of the emails that I've got recently from one damn DVD I rented and the subsequent emails that I received from it. Have you received your DVD? Have you mailed your DVD yet?
Oh my God.
How was the picture quality of your DVD? How would you rate your DVD? I mean, enough already. Enough with all the damn emails. It's like a bad girlfriend. Right? Makes a whole bunch of pointless comments and takes 2 days to come.
You should have. Oh, he did it. You should have. You know what you should have saw? You should have sent him back. None of your damn business, man.
It's stupid. So I'm like, that's why I stream all the time, because then you wear me out about the damn
Exactly.
DVD.
You all up in my business, looking through my window and shit.
So what did he say? It said one chip challenge starts tomorrow. Just saying, I wasn't at the shop, fellers, but I'm here now.
Okay. So the synchronicity there. Netflix is being nosy, and we nosy with Wade. The difference is Wade's answering us.
Wade's actually being transparent.
That's my boy. that's my boy Wade.
So, okay, here's a quote. A little nonsense now and then is relished by the wisest men. So that can mean a lot of things, right? I'm ready to get a little nonsense now and then is relished by the wisest men. So we talk about sometimes you got to live in ego, sometimes you got to live here. So sometimes we can't always be Buddha. We cannot, you know what I'm saying?
I agree. It's funny because
what do you think about that?
I'm a little bit more biased to some of the stuff that I want to talk about today, but you need a little. You know, I can't speak on it because it's tying into what I have here actually.
But again,
but without the nonsense, the synchronicity.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Without the nonsense. You really, I can't say it. I'm not going to speak on it. A
little nonsense now and then is relished by the wisest men. I didn't realize till just now that it rhymes. So
I can say this. What's nonsense now is going to be something that you can observe and kind of analyze and master, and then go through your personal development. And then over here on the side is going to be what you've grown and how you've grown from it.
Yeah.
So I like that, but I just really want to go in.
I know you do.
I can't.
I know you do.
I can't cover this shit.
So anybody that joins, please share. And there's something we're going to do too. We're going to start giving some swag away. We'll talk about that another time.
I'm not giving nothing away.
Look, there's two rational bastards. You will be giving.
All right. So you can give it away.
You know, this may turn into a habit that I share. Stupid mail pieces that I get. You remember the one I got with the little girl that
I thought that was the Netflix thing.
No, that's email. Medicare open enrollment starts soon, October 15th. What in their damn mind makes them think I'm Medicare worthy right now? I'm 45 years old.
I don't know.
Whose list am I on? Medicare bastard.
You should always. And for those of you that don't understand slang, swag means T-shirts and
hats.
Ain't no telling what it's going to be.
Hold on, let's see what Wade says here. A matter of opinion, what's nonsense versus what's not, right?
Well, what's considered to be nonsense right now might be nonsense because you don't understand it yet. You haven't looked at it, you haven't observed it, and you haven't gotten to that point to where you can really make an opinion on it.
Yeah. I like it.
Like, I don't understand anything as far as, trigonometry.
Yeah.
But at the end, I'm making a B on the midterm or the finals.
Whatever it is. Yeah.
At first, it was nonsense, right?
Yeah. So you want to get into yours? I've got something I'm going to talk about, a brief history of humankind, basically a timeline of history of evolution.
My God. I'm trying to tell you, this is such a synchronicity. We don't really talk about this.
This is
crazy.
It's not like, you want me to do this first? Because it will probably tie into yours.
I can go first.
Go ahead.
It doesn't matter. I mean,
you go.
It's I think it's going to tie in well.
Go ahead.
Self-delusion. All right. Back in 1951, Princeton and
Dartmouth.
Dartmouth. They had a game, and in this game, both quarterbacks were injured. One of them, their nose was broken. Another, his leg was broken. And it was just a brutal game. And everybody there, of course, they saw the same game. They're watching the game, and everybody's biased. Princeton won. They did a survey after the fact. We're talking maybe 3 or 4 weeks later, and everybody was talking about the game. They were talking about the game, and they were just saying, oh, well, Princeton was more brutal and blah, 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 and Dartmouth was more brutal, and they were so unfair, and we got unfair calls, and on and on and on. So the experiment was, well, we'll show them a film of the game and allow them to assess the game again with the evidence of what happened, right? They did that. What do you think happened? Princeton still saw it the same way.
Sure.
Even with the delusion, even with the just the bias of I'm from here and blah, blah, blah. And then you came over here with the other side, they saw it the same way. If it would have been called differently and blah, blah, blah. And the self-delusion in this experiment is your lens is basically based on just a feeling. Just a feeling.
I'm so glad you used the word lens. I mean, we've hit that in the past about how you see it through your own glasses and you don't take time to change.
Just your specific thing that you're focusing on. Now, what's your focus? Now, I'm going to say something crude here. I say things crude, and I don't give a little, hey, watch out. I curse and stuff all the time. Is what we do. But listen, I'm trying to work on it. But this is a Joe Rogan-ism, if you will. But we fall in love with the spot our parents fucked.
Yeah.
Where we're born doesn't or shouldn't dictate how we feel. I'm from Pittsburgh, so I like the Pittsburgh Steelers. Yeah. I'm from Nashville, so I like the Titans, and I like Tennessee, the Vols, and blah blah blah, on and on and on. What it is we're looking at that 51 game. No matter what the evidence is, if they show us everything that happened, an eyewitness. Think about this. Our law is based on people seeing something, having an eyewitness, and then them being like, well, he did this and that and blah, 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 and she did this and that and blah, blah, blah. You can ask 5 different people, and it would be 5 different versions. You have Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and all of them are different. You know what I'm saying? So this is within a week, within 3 weeks. Imagine in the Bible terms, 100 years later. So what happened again? Well, my granddad and my granddad's granddad said.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So my point is, not really my point is, I'm just saying, just based on the evidence, self-delusion is just what it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be there. And the scariest part, and this is where Scott might disagree with me, he's looking at me. He might. I don't know what he's going to. I never know what the motherfucker's going to do. If he's going to roll with me, if he's going to dip off to the side. But self-delusion, Scott, is absolutely necessary. If we had everybody thinking the same way, this system would break down, and we'd be no different than, quote, in quotations, than the Indians. We considered the Indians savages when we got here. But they were the most balanced. They had teepees. They could take the teepees, roll them up, and migrate with their source of food, which was the buffalo. And in that, we're not sitting there in one area falling in love with the Titans or the Pittsburgh Steelers or the Cowboys or Alabama or whatever the case. We're going to a new area. We don't know what's going to go on, and we adapt, right? So we learn to evolve by adapting, and we adapt and adapt and adapt. But what we do is we do what goldfish do in a fishbowl.
Yeah,
a goldfish in a fishbowl, he might complain at first, but if you leave him there for a year, put his ass in the ocean, he'll die of starvation because his ass will just swim around in a circle. It's hard to look at the reality that we've all decided to be fish in a fishbowl in a pond. Yeah. Not in a pond, but in the ocean. And without that delusion and all the different views, the mortar, the shit that we use as mortar, that we put the bricks on to build this whole entire system, would collapse. And that would be tragic. Because I don't know about you, but I'm not going to take my teepee and follow the next thing that's coming along. So the balance is the imbalance. And that's scary. But if we can at least admit we have the self-delusion, we can be more empathetic and be more sympathetic. But even that would run the danger of, well, I mean, I don't know how, we're going to talk about the flag and you as being a black person would be like, oh, you have that right, blah, blah, blah. And, you're wearing an X of Malcolm X, and, the Indians are over here and they have bull. You wouldn't be able to do it. So it's shitty. But here's my last point. Here's my main point. All right, and I'm done. I ain't gonna say nothing else the whole show. The problem right now is the overseers of the shit, the mortar that we use for this system, is shittier than it's ever been ever. And you have too much shit. It's like it's more shit than bricks. And that's what's freaking everybody out. It's just like, wow, this is too crazy. And that's where we're freaking out. And if we could just back up a minute, it's only going to be hopefully only four terms.
Be an observer for a second. Back up.
Observe.
I love it for a second.
You know what I'm saying? Allow yourself to look at the game that you're looking at and have your own opinion. There's going to be an opposing side. That's right. Don't get in your feelings about what their version is. If you're Darth, be Darth. If you're Princeton, be Princeton. And don't worry about the judgment. And don't even worry about your own judgment of other people. That's just our nature. But at the end of the day, this shitty period, people that hated Obama, he's gone. People that hate that new motherfucker, he's going to be gone soon.
Right.
And then we can get back to some normality of the shit that we've all accepted.
Yeah. Well, and to kind of say, I don't think I realized, obviously I didn't. I think it was a subconscious thing growing up. You think about the things that I did to try to break myself from that, going to kind of get against the grain. Always liked Alabama. I grew up in Tennessee. Right. Always liked the Cowboys. I grew up in Tennessee. When the Titans came here, guess what? I'm still a Cowboys fan. Right. Didn't change. When Alabama, before Nick Saban, they were terrible, I still followed Alabama. And you think about pulling my family up and moving them across the country. One of the reasons to move them across the country is do something completely different to expand who we are. So I don't think initially, now when we did that, the move to California,
Right.
it was very conscious. But the things before, I didn't realize that that's what I was trying to do. I was speaking up. It's just like
Right.
this. My mother, I was raised traditional Southern Baptist, going to church. Well, I remember one day, I don't know, I was like 9 years old, and you have these little sessions where the youth minister talks with you individually. He goes, "What do you think?" I said, "Well, I really have a problem with the whole concept of God." And he looked at me like I was the devil.
Yeah, exactly.
And of course, thankfully, he didn't share with my mom at the time. It wasn't the time to share with her my thought and my opinion on that. But early on, I was already kind of putting my head up against and not being a sheep, along with the sheep, and saying, what is this? This is a veil, like the Matrix, like a veil has been pulled over. Well, I want to see what else. There's got to be something else. So that was a subconscious thing. It wasn't that I thought I was trying to break that. I just knew something wasn't quite right. There wasn't a balance for me.
Right.
But the conscious move was to California to try to break that. And I think, things that we talk about before we go live and other experiences that we try to immerse ourselves in to, jointly and separate, I think of those things that we're trying to do to break that norm.
Well,
So,
well, I just want to say there's nothing wrong with pride.
No.
If you can, balance your pride if you can. But if you have an overabundance of pride, get out there and do whatever you want.
Yeah.
March, kneel, whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
But at the same time, can you at least just not be violent and not be forceful in your opinions? Fuck you for kneeling and blah, blah, blah. That's fine. But just allow that person to exist without violence.
Yeah. Well, you think about this. This is all I'm going to say about the kneeling thing again. You said that, but this something happened this weekend was Mike Pence going to the Colts 49ers game. I don't know if you saw that. The vice president went to the game, and he left when the 49ers knelt.
Right.
You knew going in the 49ers were going to kneel.
Right.
He's making a scene. It's a publicity stunt. He knew good one. And you think about, because, we get word and all the media's report, he told the media, "Hey, wait out here. I'm not going to be here long."
Right.
Then let's think about this too. Let's think about
he didn't even want to watch that game.
He was just trying to make a statement. It's a publicity stunt, whatever. We know how you feel.
Your boy probably told you to do it. Go on down there and see what
he did. He tweeted and said, "I told Pence if somebody knelt to leave." So it was planned. It was planned. He's his puppet, And
he tweeted that?
And well, he tweets everything. I mean, you know how it is. Kofefe, whatever the hell that means. He made that word up. But anyway,
Puerto Rico.
Anyway, my and then you think about this, the cost of what it costs the detail of bringing all the Secret Service people in, the flight. I mean, it was estimated to cost $250,000 to pull that publicity stunt that the taxpayers paid for.
Right.
We know where you stand.
Right.
The damn man that occupies the White House right now is very clear how he stands. Again, that's you trying to influence and impress your belief on what you think upon everybody. Just let people be what they are.
Right.
That protest is peaceful. They're not doing anything to harm you. If it hurts viewership, that's their fault.
I think that brings up an interesting point. It's not so much the violence, it's the force.
Yeah.
Like, don't force your view on someone else. Put it out there, no matter how vile it is, but just don't try to force someone else to see your view. Like, because now it's you needing that validation so that you feel better about what's going on. Just allow whatever to happen.
Here's the thing, too. That game was a game where they were honoring Peyton Manning for playing, and they were unveiling his statue. You took away from all that.
Right.
You took away from that a publicity stunt. You made it about you.
Right.
You were a little bitch and made it about you instead of you. Man, it's sad to see. Well, I think it was Bob Corker, our senator, or whatever he is here. I think he's retiring. If I read that correctly, he made some sort of comment, a loose comment, like it's sad to see things coming from basically how childish it is in their responses to things.
Right.
Something he thought he would never see in a presidency, but it's what it is,
Well, I mean.
Oh, and Pence wasn't even invited to the game.
Well, I don't see anything wrong with him leaving. Honestly.
I don't either. That's his.
You know what I'm saying? But again, I'm talking about the force. He was forced to go and do that in the first place.
Right. And again, like we said before, if you kneel, that's your right. If you stand, that's your right. If
If
you have an
leave,
opinion,
that's your right.
if you have an
But
opinion,
don't force me to kneel because that's a corporation publicity. Like if I'm a football player and I don't want to kneel and now I'm being forced to kneel.
Yeah.
Like there was a guy that wanted to go out and honor the flag and he couldn't because the team had decided and the coach had decided and said, we're going to do this. Just like, wait a minute now.
Well, like I say, and if however you express yourself and whatever your opinion is, that's fine. It's your opinion. But then don't. Again, we've said this again. Don't force it on me.
Thank you.
I don't force mine on you. I'm fine. Whatever you want to do, Mike Pinsley, fine. That's
Right.
cool. But don't make it a forcible publicity stunt. It's ridiculous.
Right.
It's childish. Whatever. Let's see. Okay, we got some comments here. Stephanie Jackson, thanks for joining. Here's Wade. Express yourself without violence. Dig it. For some are more violent than others and look forward to opportunities as such.
Yes.
And I'm over here trying to stop the light rail. They're trying to run down the middle of Galton Road. Yeah, I mean, he's right on. I love that comment, Wade. Express yourself without violence. For some are more violent than others and look forward to opportunities as such. There absolutely are people out there that just look for opportunities to be contrary and to fight just for the sake of fighting.
Right.
And I bet if there was a opposing protest or whatever that came up 6 months from now, they'd be involved with that too, just to fight, just
Right.
have anger. You're dead on. You're dead on, Wade.
The funny thing is, when you just sit there and allow yourself to be triggered by everything that comes down the pipe, you're pretty much telling or showing everybody how to control you. You know what I mean? Like if I can't sit here and allow you to do you in a unforceful, not a violent way. Couldn't even find it. I don't even know how you. Not a violent.
Non-violent.
Non-violent. Non-violence is what I'm looking for. I'm so sleepy. In a non-violent way, what you're doing is you're saying, "Here's the gun. It's mine, but anybody that wants to can pull the trigger."
Yeah.
And you
That's
just
what
react, and you give people the remote control to you. Like, where are you in your own experience in that? You're not even present.
You're not even you. You're giving everybody the power of you.
Exactly.
I mean,
ooh, I like that.
So
That's a T-shirt.
welcome. That's a new saying, right? Welcome, Charlie, to the craziness that we're broadcasting today.
It's rational bastards, and I'm making up words and fucking words up.
So I'm going to cover this because this is kind of interesting how this ties in. This is a book by Yuval Noah Harari. And here, I'm going to give you a copy of this here.
Thank you.
And what this is it's a book called Sapiens. I just made a copy of it. It's a brief history of humankind. And I think it's interesting. I'm going to go through.
Do you see my synchronicity?
Yeah, that's it. Again, we didn't know what we were going to share. Mackenzie family, thank you for joining. Jeff Stein, thanks for joining. So this is a timeline of years before the present, meaning, before now. I guess you could say. 13.5 billion years ago, matter and energy appear, beginning of physics, atoms and molecules appear, beginning of chemistry.
Right.
4.5 billion years ago, formation of planet Earth. 3.8 billion years ago, emergence of organisms, beginning of biology. 6 million years ago, that's quite a bit of a jump, but I guess there wasn't much in between the 3.8 billion and 6 million.
Didn't everything begin 10,000 years ago?
Adam
Adam and Eve knew.
Adam
Adam and Eve knew.
And the good book. 6 million years ago, last common grandmother of humans and chimpanzees. 2.5 million years ago, evolution of the genus Homo in Africa. First stone tools, 2.5 million years ago. That's pretty amazing. That's a long time ago.
Exactly.
500,000 years ago, Neanderthals evolved in Europe and the Middle East. 300,000 years ago, daily usage of fire. That's the first.
How long ago was fire?
300,000 years ago.
Wow.
200,000 years ago, Homo sapiens evolved in East Africa. So I know that there are some people that are very upset, but about the evolution of where it was coming from.
Damn, it was in Africa.
Oh, damn. 70,000 years ago, the cognitive revolution, emergence of fictive language, beginning of history, sapiens spread out of Africa.
Okay. How long ago was that?
70,000 years ago.
70,000 years ago.
70,000 years ago.
I was thinking it was 10,000 because that was the Samaria. So we've something messed up with the history there.
Yeah. So
wow.
45,000 years ago, sapiens settled Australia. Extinction.
What?
Extinction of Australian megafauna, whatever that is. You can look it up. There you go. Look it up.
You can look it up yourself. Google.
30,000 years ago, extinction
what
of
was it?
Neanderthals. Yeah, I'm tired too.
You cleaned up too much food because you talking some shit.
Well, we also had some of my homemade brewed kombucha. No telling how much alcohol was in
Oh
there.
my God, I know, right? It tastes like beer.
It was good.
I don't drink, but
it was good though. Okay. 16,000 years ago, sapiens settled America. Extinction of American megafauna. I think I said that right.
yeah.
You did. No, that was actually 45,000. There was a 16,000. 13,000 years ago, extinction of Homo forensis, Homo sapiens, the only surviving human species. That was 13,000 years ago. Homo sapiens are the only surviving human species.
And we've not even scratched the surface of how long we've been here versus how long those other ones. So we're not guaranteed that we're just gonna keep going and going and going, especially with all this evolving technology.
Hey, Karen Stallings Jagers says, I love these guys. Thank you so much, Karen. It means a lot to
Oh
us.
my God, I love you too. Thank you
That's
so
amazing.
much.
Thank you guys so very much. 12,000 years ago, the agricultural revolution, domestication of plants and animals, permanent settlements, 12,000 years ago. So listen to where I started, 13.5 billion years ago, and you think about evolution, okay? Remind me to speak on that here in a second, Colin.
Evolution?
Yeah, well, not to go deep in that, but how we were talking about evolution a moment ago.
Right.
5,000 years ago, first kingdom, script and money, and then certain religions. 4,250 years ago, first empire, the Akkadian Empire, came to be 4250. Now, in religions back then, did you know that it wasn't segregated? Several religions would come together. Like you may be from Africa, I may be from West Africa. The way we dressed and the essential oils that we put on our body would distinguish what religion we were. Well, we all came and worshiped together.
Right.
It wasn't a separation. We all came together. We had our differences, but we came together.
That's
So
neat.
it's funny we could figure that out 5,000 years ago, but yet I feel like we've devolved right now.
Right. We have.
Okay, you're going to make a point?
No, I was just going to say,
How much you love me?
Exactly. I love you so much. To get back to that, it had to be manipulated later. Like Constantine was able to consolidate Christianity.
Absolutely. And we had an episode on paganism. Remember that?
Yeah.
So we may have to hit that again.
I know, right?
Especially when it gets close to Christmas, because that's time.
That is perfect.
The 2,500.
That's a perfect consolidation.
Absolutely. 2,500 years ago, invention of coinage, a universal money, the Persian Empire, a universal political order for the benefit of all humans, Buddhism in India, a universal truth to liberate all beings from suffering. So that was 2,500 years ago. Those kind of things came to place.
Okay.
So what they're
Jesus is coming.
So what they're talking about, 2,500 years ago, these main milestones: universal money was formed, universal political order, and universal truth were formed 2,500 years ago.
Right.
2,000 years ago, Han Empire in China, Roman Empire in the Mediterranean, and then Christianity.
Right.
2,000 years ago. 1,400 years ago, Islam. 500 years ago, the scientific revolution. Humankind admits its ignorance and begins to acquire unprecedented power.
Yep.
Europeans begin to conquer America and the oceans. The entire planet becomes a single historical arena. The rise of capitalism.
Right.
500 years ago. 200 years ago, the Industrial Revolution. Family and community are replaced by state and market.
Right.
Massive extinction of planets and animals. I don't know why I'm having such a hard time with that word today.
I don't know. I'm enjoying it.
The present. This is the present. Humans transcend the boundaries of planet Earth. Nuclear weapons threaten the survival of humankind. Organisms are increasingly shaped by intelligent design rather than natural selection.
Right.
And here's the future. Intelligent design becomes the basic principle of life. Homo sapiens is replaced by the superhumans.
Right.
So here's the whole reason. I mean, very interesting timeline of history of how human beings and what things form.
Right.
But my point in saying all that,
Right.
that's a long way to say this one little short thing is, it takes a while to evolve and change your state where you are right now.
Right.
if you want to evolve. We said this on the past episode. If you want to be a Lamborghini, a Ferrari, but you're currently a Pinto, it's going to take a minute.
Right.
You got to start doing those things that the Ferraris do, right, to become that Ferrari.
Right.
Put the kind of premium gas in, put the nice tires on it, get the tune-ups regular and all that. It's taken us
Tune-ups.
That's what it is. It's taken us all these years to evolve where we are now. So don't expect to change your mindset. You can start the process. It's going to take time. It's going to take time. But just be diligent and be a proactive part of that process daily and recognizing it.
Right. But more than that, well, I'm not going to say more than that, but just as important in that is you have to know your nature. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like, know that we all have our own version of self-delusion. We have our own bias. And then there's certain protections that you have in your subconscious mind. And once you learn those things, you can better acknowledge and control, not even really control, but hold yourself accountable for your triggers and then start to move forward in the knowledge, not in the ignorance.
Yeah, no,
Like, what is that? What is that saying? I wish I knew. It just came to me, and it's going to be butchered. But know thyself and master thyself.
Yeah, no, that's right. I mean, that we talk about that in the past is about recognizing the discrepancy when it arises, and then use that as okay. I don't like the way this feels. How can I make sure that when this presents itself again, I respond differently and I feel a different way when I walk away from it?
Right.
Be an active participant in your evolution.
Right.
Don't just let it all happen around you
Right.
and pass you by. You know, so
The weirdest thing, and then I can be done with this, but it's hard to remember. This is the hardest thing for me to remember. I'm just going to use me as the guinea pig. It's hard for me to remember that you can't start with just the equation. The equation is only a quarter of the whole thing. I got to start with a problem, and then I have to solve the problem to put into play the ingredients, which is the equation. So I take the equation to address the problem, and then I solve the problem. So what I'm basically saying is you got to have some sort of process to get to what the overall view is. The equation, or the thing that you're trying to evolve to, or the personal development that you're trying to get to, you're going to have to go through that problem, solve it, and then you discover, ooh, here's the ingredients, here's the equation.
Yeah.
We never look at homework as, something that wasn't going to show us something. We didn't say, oh my God, look at all these problems, and just start complaining and then turn in a blank sheet of paper to the teacher.
Yeah.
No, we did all those problems to give us more and more and more and more exposure to the equation. And then now, by the time we get to the midterm or the finals, we pass. But we don't look at our lives that way. And that's what I'm talking about. If we can get to where we just admit where we are with, I don't know the equation yet. Now you have the equation. Now you can go forward in life and be like, okay, now I know. Now I can apply that and try to move forward in the know.
Yeah, so I was going to wait to share this probably next week, but I got an email from Ramit Sethi, and this is he talks about the surprising secrets of the Sherpas. Okay. I'm going to read this real quick. It's pretty good because it ties into what we're talking about here. Climbing Everest is a serious achievement. On the way up the mountain, you cross countless 100 feet deep ice chasms and bridges made of flimsy ladders tied together with old rope. As you get higher, the air grows so thin you have to carry oxygen tanks to think straight.
Oh, wow.
The entire trip takes 2 months. I don't think I knew it. I knew it took a long time. I didn't think it took 2 months. And more than 280 people have died trying to reach the top. Quite honestly, I thought there were more people that died.
How many?
280.
Oh, wow. I thought it was more too.
Me too. So, but what most people don't realize is no Westerner, meaning people from the United States,
Right.
or Canada, or Mexico, whatever, would ever make it to the summit without the help of a unique group of local people called the Sherpas.
Wow.
Sherpas act as guides and porters for the Westerners who come to climb the mountain. They make the once-in-a-lifetime trek multiple times a year during climbing season.
Are you serious?
Multiple times a year. This is pretty remarkable.
And they don't get any credit.
Dude. So, and they do it wearing 150-plus pound packs rather than the typical load of water bottle, jacket, camera, and lunch like visiting climbers. For years, people thought there had to be something physically different about Sherpas that let them do this. That they had to have some adaptation from generations living in the mountains that made them better suited for the rigors of climbing the highest peaks in the world. But then, researchers from Belgium's University Delusion, I guess is how you say it, did a study on 113 Sherpas. Are their bodies specially adapted to handle it? Is their endurance a genetic trait? Is it their diet? You know what they found? Absolutely nothing different. The researchers found no physical difference between Sherpas and the rest of us apart from being slightly more adapted to high altitudes. What is it that sets these Sherpas apart from 99.99% of the population? This isn't just about mountain climbing, it's about mastery and performance and mindset. The same secret that gives the Sherpas the edge can give you an edge in your life. Most people want things as easily as possible. Think about 7-minute abs, 4-hour work week, 10-minute meals, weekend MBA, and so on and so forth. So I have a challenge for people. I want you to go out of your way to put 10% more effort into something you usually do on autopilot every day. So think about that. Just things about your routine. You don't have to do 1,000 push-ups or climb a mountain, anything like that. It could be take a different route to work. Instead of going up to the barista saying black coffee, please, tell them a story about how your morning's going.
Right.
To interact and engage. Take a cold shower. We talk about the importance of sometimes cold showers. It can be anything, just something different that is out of the normal of your routine to change that.
Right.
So you missed this because you got up.
No, I heard it.
Did you hear it on?
I heard it.
So anyway, it's mindset and mastery and how you view what you can and can't do.
Right. So you were saying earlier, evolution.
Yeah.
Right. The weirdest thing I've experienced, I hate to run. I hate it. I loathe it. It's one of the worst things that I could ever do.
I was going to say, and I hate the runs.
Your dog loves the runs.
That's why that's so present on my mind.
But when you run, the weirdest thing happens. Just a smidgen of science and how everything evolves and develops on a short period. 120.
So I'm sorry. So when you start, what happens to you is, why did I start? I need to stop. It sucks.
It sucks. 120 days is the blood life of a cell. All right.
Yeah.
So when you first start working out in your cell, you have mitochondria, which is like if you look at a car like a cell, imagine the engine is a mitochondria. All right. So when you run, the mitochondria starts to duplicate. You get more mitochondria the more you run because you need more oxygen and blah, 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 on and on and on. So the cells start to evolve. So imagine if your car had more engines, you can say you have, what's a really high powered car? Bugatti.
Yeah.
You can push the gas pedal all the way down, and I think within 10 minutes you empty the gas tank, like a full tank. Well, if you took a Bugatti and increased the amount of engines that were in it, say like a cell would have normally 2 or 3 or 4, and you turn it into 8 or 9 or 10, you have a car that could go maybe 100, 150, 200 miles to the gallon if you have more engines in that car to put out the same amount of effort. Imagine putting an 18-wheeler engine into a Pinto. I mean, you'd be able to...
Pinto. We wear Pinto out on this show.
We wear Pinto. I'm an underdog guy, so I'm going to call a Pinto out. I mean, I don't even think they make them anymore.
They don't, thank God.
I loved them. But my point is, as you run, you've increased your you've increased your ability for about 3 months. So the longer you run, the more mitochondria you have. Your thermogenics is higher. You are processing food better. You have the whole time of everything that you do with more energy. You need less sleep. You have more filtrated blood. Your lymphatic system. Your lymphatic system and your immune system goes up astronomically because you're bouncing up and down, and it takes movement to move your lymphatic fluid. On and on and on. Your brain is on a higher function. So even though you hate it, your ability to do it becomes easier, which makes it easier to do something you don't like. And then it's easier, so it becomes easier to do something you don't like, and the thing that you don't like becomes less and less and less. And now you're doing it, it becomes the norm, and you're happy. You see the evolution, and you keep going forward, and you become better by doing something you hate, by applying the equation and solving the problem, and moving forward and forward and forward and forward, and your personal development increases just by doing what you just said. Like those people that are taking people up to the top of that summit, they've evolved. That's why they can breathe better at that elevation. Yeah. Their mitochondria and their system, blah, 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 has been exposed over and over and over, and that's their evolution. It is normal for them now. It is normal for me to run at least 4 miles with higher intensity when I hated that first mile in the first month. It's evolution.
Absolutely, it is. So something I forgot to mention at the beginning of the show is last week we played a clip from House of Cards that was really timely. And here's what it was. We're not going to go into deep this, but I want to make this point. I made the comment, I said this on the past show way back, I think when the Orlando things happened. When America decided that killing kids and children, talking about Newton, Connecticut, the school, the mass shooting there, when America decided that killing kids was acceptable, the gun debate was over.
What you mean by that is we didn't change the laws when we had that shooting that involved kids.
We had an opportunity to really do something about gun control. You can go back to the last episode and get our idea on gun control. That's not what this episode's about. But I played that episode for a reason, and I didn't make the point afterwards. The reason I played it. And he talks about, he's going before this congressional panel that's questioning him about his past crimes. And he comes in, he goes, hey, I'm guilty, but so are you. I'm guilty of the rules that we wrote. We're all guilty then. You are all guilty. And he said, we're all paid. You said I'm paid to play, but we all are.
Right.
That my point in playing that was saying this is that the lobbyist, the NRA being one of the largest, owns a lot of those people. And they're never going to
NRA being one of the
National Rifle Association, they're never the congressmen, the senators, all those people are never going to make those changes because they're being paid to play.
Exactly.
So again, we had an opportunity back. So when this thing happened in Vegas, I'm not surprised that they're not. No, you can talk about all the gun control you want. It's not going to happen.
Exactly.
I mean, it's terrible to say. I want to be optimistic and not be close-minded like that, but not in our timeline. It won't change, right?
Well, if it didn't change with the kids, it's not going to change. It's not going to change with any other example.
So anyway, I'll share this.
I hope we're wrong.
I do too. Please prove me wrong so I can come back on the show and say I humbly say that I was wrong. Whatever.
I like it.
So I'm gonna share this next week. Can you get rid of cellulite with exercise? So that's going to be on the next episode.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and the short answer, yes, and we'll go into a little. It's a very short article and a little bit of research. So I'm gonna read a story.
Yes.
This is again, we've done this for the past 3 weeks. Shit, My Dad Says by Justin Halpern. This was written, I think, in 2012, 2011, something like that. But interesting, fun stories here. So this one, this story is A Man's House is His House. This is my house, goddammit. I got to defend my house.
Oh, boy. Fresh out of the gate.
When I was 7 years old, my dad invited me into his bedroom to show me his Mossberg shotgun. Timely. I didn't even think about that I was going to talk about a gun after.
Right. Synchronicity.
Yeah. Here's the trigger. Here's the loading mechanism. Here's the sight so you can see whatever the fuck you're shooting. And here's how you hold it, he said. Cradling the gun. Now, don't ever fucking touch it. So he shows it to him. Doesn't have to touch it. So The reason that my dad kept a shotgun on top of the cabinet above his bed was because he was convinced that we were always just about to be robbed. We have a lot of shit in this house. People want that shit. I don't want them to get our shit. Makes sense? It did, but to my dad, anyone making noise inside our house after 1 a.m. was likely a burglar. I never understood where his anxiety came from because we lived in a suburb. I once asked him about it, and he responded simply, I came from a different time. What time was that, Dad? I don't fucking know. A different one. Jesus, stop asking me questions. Just be thankful I give a shit. Despite his ever-present fear of burglars, my father likes to get comfy when he goes to bed. What I mean by that is he always sleeps naked. And when he's naked, he looks like something that pops up from behind a bush in a Jim Henson film and starts singing super hairy with eyebrows and that defies gravity. One night shortly after he showed me his shotgun, my dad awoke to hearing a rumbling in the kitchen about 1:45 a.m. He immediately grabbed his gun from over his bed, told my mom to stay put, and walked bare ass naked toward the noise, gun out in front, hand on the trigger. I woke up when I heard him plonk past my door and peeped my head out the bedroom just in time to see him get down on all fours with his shotgun, army crawling toward the door that led to the kitchen. My dad stopped. Can you imagine? He's completely naked.
Right.
My dad stopped in the middle of the hallway, then aimed his shotgun at the closed door and yelled, come through the door and I'll fucking kill you. Inside the kitchen was my mom's sister, Aunt Jean, who was staying with us and unaware of the 1 a.m. burglar rule and had decided to fix herself a late night snack. Upon hearing his threat, she opened the door, spotted my father naked on the floor with a shotgun pointed at her and his exposed rear reflecting the light from the kitchen. She ran past him into her room and slammed the door. My dad assumed she was just afraid of the burglar and remained agitated. He still thought somebody was in there.
That's crazy.
Oblivious to what was going on outside her bedroom, my mom called 911. Sam, the police are on the way. Put your gun down and your clothes on. She hollered from the other side of the house. Fuck that, I ain't doing either. This is my house, goddammit. I gotta defend my house, he yelled back. The police finally showed up, determined that there had been no foul play, and encouraged my father to put his clothes on and disarm himself. He still didn't put his clothes on.
He's like, he's ride or die with it. I'm committed, damn it.
The next morning, my brothers, my parents, and I sat silently at the breakfast table. When my aunt came out of her room, for the first time since she had retreated from my naked, gun-wielding father, she was not talkative either.
I bet.
Just in case I hadn't realized what happened, my brother Dan leaned over and whispered to me, she saw Dad's wiener. And he tried to kill her. My dad turned to us and said in a serious tone, I guess I should fill you on what happened last night. No one broke into the house, but remember, a man's house is his house. He took one last bite of his grape nuts and chirped, okay, gotta go to work.
It's done. Let's move on.
That's, I mean, the simplicity of his advice, and I mean, he's very harsh and hardcore, but it makes sense, you know, some of the advice he gives is so funny.
I love it.
But that reminds me, I just recalled this, that reminds me of a story when I was in law enforcement. This was prom night. Of course, you always go to the normal place that you think you can find somebody doing something they're not supposed to be doing.
Right.
So I pull up and there's this van, and I'm serious. It's like typical what you see in the movie. The windows are fogged up, and it's rocking.
Yeah.
I knock on the window. There's two teenagers. She's completely naked. He's not completely naked yet. And so they're like, you know, like eyes this big.
Dude, let them finish first.
So anyway, I just simply said, hey, okay, put your clothes on. We need to talk. We'll call your parents. I reminded her 4 or 5 times. She was so shocked she never put her clothes back on. I said, Chivalry's not dead. I said, can you cover up with your jacket? Oh, take the jacket off. But the entire time, parents come, all that. She never puts her. She is in total shock that I catch.
That's so funny.
They're in a school parking lot. You know, police patrol the school parking lot. What were you thinking? You know, so
right.
Anyway, it reminds me of that. She never, so I can understand it. She never put her clothes on. the entire time. Anyway.
Well, I have a question, real quick.
Yeah.
Quick.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a serious question, but if you know the answer, please answer.
Welcome, Michael.
What's the difference between fucking in a van and fucking in a RV?
I mean, yeah. Well, an RV is a house on wheels. What in a van, they say public, exposing yourself in public. Blah,
It's
blah,
a
blah.
van.
I know.
You didn't see nothing until you went up there and the Big Ten like old peeping Tom.
Well, but then of course, that's funny. But then too, you got to make sure. I mean, because the questions that you ask me, are you being held against your will? Is this consent?
Right.
So
right.
that's the reason why you do. I mean, you do that kind
Like
of
in a
thing.
car, I get that,
Yeah.
but a van, you know what I mean? Like some of them even have a van in the back. Girl, come down, come on.
I'll tell you another story about a car swerving down the road. When I thought for sure they were drunk. Hit the lights, pull them over, and then I see a head pop up out of the passenger seat. I see what's going on. He stops. I just get on the bike. Continue with your drive. I don't even want.
Awesome,
Yeah.
awesome. I was starting to think you was a dickhead cop there, but I was like,
No, I wasn't, man. I wasn't like that at all. I think I wrote 5 tickets my entire law enforcement career. Anyway, I just don't do that. But anyway, that's all I had. I mean, I could share that story, but we're 1 hour, 1 minute in.
I like
so
it.
we're about where we need to be. Again, we said, and I said this, Michael McCullough, welcome. This is a guy that I go way back with as well. Thanks for joining. Joined late. You need to go back and listen to the show, brother. Anyway, that's all I have for this week, Colin. You got any last words of wisdom that you always like to spit?
Man, it's just real simple for me, man. Your version of self-delusion is okay. Act like it. Or don't.
Yeah. That almost goes back to kind of like the comment, like, we'll see.
We'll see.
You know?
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just don't be violent if you can, and don't force your will,
Right.
and be as dumb or as smart as you want.
Yeah. Try to show grace and be kind, but
Do the best you can, or don't.
if not, I just avoid you.
Yeah.
And that's my right to do that.
Or fuck you.
Yeah,
That's my right.
yeah, that's my right. So anyway, thank you, Facebook, for joining in. Thank you for podcasters for listening. And again, share comments in this emails
Please.
podcast. You get it on YouTube. It sounds like we're just talking to Facebook, but we also upload this to YouTube. We just broadcast live on Facebook.
Right.
Turned into an audio version every Friday for podcast. Tuesdays we go live.
Again, we will be getting some swag out there to you
Yes.
guys. There's going to be some different things.
Yeah.
What,
T-shirts for sure. One, it's going to have our beautiful face logo. But we're going to do that like probably some contests. Say if you share, first 5 people share, get a free shirt.
yeah, exactly.
Things like that. And we may, and with the
Give
new,
you some incentive to help us out.
right, and then with the new software we're going to maybe use next week. I'll see and test it out.
Let's try.
That enables our guests that are watching to then be able to comment. I can buzz them in through Facebook. They can make comments. Because
Right.
Wade always has a lot of good comments. So some other people can talk too.
Right.
We'll give you the ability to do that, kind of share, whatever. So there'll be some kind of neat things we do. And we're thinking about possibly going on some location.
Right.
Again, we used to do that from time to time. So anyway, just stay tuned. We're trying to evolve
Keep all exactly.
every week. So next week, again, we're going to try to get started.
Trying to get our
10:30.
mitochondria.
Yeah. We're trying to get started at 10 or 10:30 next week. But it worked out the way it's supposed to this week. So
Unless the dogs poop, we're all oversleep.
just what it is. So anyway, that's all I got. Until next week, I'm Scott.
It's Colin.
Out. So that was hour 8. Again, Facebook, thanks for joining in. Until next week, thank you so very much. Share next time. Show us some love, comment, all that good stuff. Encourage people to like our page. And, yeah, that's all we got. See you guys next week. Thanks so much again.
I hate that it went